empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, point A to point B, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
Welcome to Scoop World Order. It is Penn State edition. We are going to recap the Iowa game with the great Bill Greene. We're going to talk a little bit about what surprised us, what didn't surprise us. It was a long, strange Saturday against the Iowa Hawkeyes. The scoreboard looked pretty. The game did not. It's going to be interesting. We're going to get into that. But first of all, as always, thank you guys. We appreciate you guys. Keep clicking on that like button. Subscribe. Send this around. We are growing. It's been a blast. Comment. Do you agree with me and Bill? We were laughing in the pre-show. Who do you think needs to step up this week out at Happy Valley? Very difficult place to play. What unit needs to play better than they did against Iowa? Without further ado, I'm going to bring in the great Bill the Bank Greene. Bank, how are you today?
Good, man. Doing real good.
Good. Well, I know you stay tuned in. You watch as much football as anybody. You watch, you love watching Southern football, watching some of the higher level stuff. Where are we at right now with the Ohio State Buckeyes this year? It's hard because you don't want to be, they won 54-10. You don't want to sound like a hater, but I think a lot of people look through the scope of would that effort have beaten Georgia or Bama or Tennessee or Clemson? What say you? Where are the Buckeyes at this point coming off of that Iowa game?
Yeah, I wrote the other day that I still think Ohio State is one of the best teams in the country. I don't think they're the best team in the country, but I don't think there is the best team in the country. And it doesn't do you any good to be the best team in the country in late October. We've talked before. How many October national championships has Ohio State won? They've won more than anyone. But they have 3 of the last 50 years in real national championships. So it doesn't do you any good to be the best team right now. You got to be the best team at the end of the year, playing your best football going into the playoffs. That's who you have to be. Can Ohio State be that team? Oh, heck yes. Oh, heck yes. There's a lot going good for them here. But to say they're head and shoulders above everybody else, I don't think so. But I don't think anybody's head and shoulders above anyone right now. So would that effort last week win you 2 playoff games? No. You're going to get beat. 54-10 is beautiful, but when you look under the hood a little bit, there was a lot not so good. And I think Ryan Day would admit that today. I think he would admit that, yes, there was a lot of not so good there.
Yeah, and I am a guy that probably has won multiple national championships in October. I did not. The only ring I got from that was my wedding ring. They did not put a banner up in the stadium for being number 1 in the polls at the end of October, as I was in 06 and 07, because we lost our last game and we got no consolation prize. So I agree with you totally, Bank. Let's look under the hood a little bit. I personally love games like this that are 54-10. But there are so many things that were screwed up and need fixed. It gives these coaches just an unbelievable amount of ammunition in film. I've sat in those film sessions. When we beat Miami of Ohio, I think it was like 55-10 in Urban Meyer's first game, 2012. I walked into the film session. I knew that he wouldn't be happy just because he literally is never happy. But oh my God, I had no idea that we might as well have gone out and gotten shot in the middle of the Woody Hayes practice field, because that's about how it felt for 3 hours of Urban just destroying the coaching staff, especially the offensive staff. So I think Ryan is probably in that kind of a mood because he knows that kind of effort's not going to help you beat the mega squads we're going to see in the playoffs. But give me a little bit of your thoughts about this Iowa game. It was funky, but what did you think immediately after watching that? And then I know you like to rewatch it.
Yeah. Well, everything I say, whether it's recruiting or games, everything I do is in regards to Ohio State winning the national title that year. That's all I think people are interested in. You know what I mean? I'm not going to write about how this is how you win the big, you got to win it all. So what I did not like in that game, for the second game in a row, CJ Stroud gave the other team a score. He threw the pick 6 against Michigan State, dropped the ball on the ground against Iowa, let him pick it up and run it in. I mean, you cannot do that, number one. You just can't do it. Ohio State was 3 for 13 on third down. That's not good. They averaged 2.2 yards per rush, Ohio State. There were 2 turnovers in the game by CJ. So
Yeah.
that's all. You know what I mean? You can't have any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So that's what I didn't like. Okay. And then love the defense. I mean, they played so good, but you have to understand. And I'm not knocking the defense because they got to play who's against you, and you stop who's against you. But Iowa is 131 in total offense, and there are 131 Division I teams. They have scored 7 touchdowns in 7 games. Okay? Their pass offense is their strength because they're 122 out of 131. Okay? In 7 games, Iowa's rushed for 570 yards. I think Ryan Williams was very close to that. In yards per play, they're only ahead of UMass. So you have to really understand how horrible this offense is. And I told you out the air, and I believe it. If every time Iowa got the ball, if they would have ran the ball, never attempted a pass the whole game, even if you got a punt after 3 plays, punt it all the way down the other end, let your defense play with a shorter field. And then when you get the ball back, run it 3 straight times again. Maybe you sneak out a first down. They had a couple draw plays that went for yardage against Ohio State. Run it and punt it all the way down the other end of the field. If they would have done that the whole game, never attempted a pass, the score would have been a lot closer than 54-10. I mean, that's sad when you say that about a program like Iowa. I look at Iowa as a very proud, you know what I mean? Very tradition-oriented. This is a joke, what they have on offense, and it's been that way for a while. And, it's sad to say that if they just run the ball 3 times up the middle and punt, they're further ahead than what they did. And that's sad to me.
Yeah, I've never seen Wisconsin and Iowa. Those are 2 of the worst units I've seen out of those programs. I've played against those programs. I know what those programs are about. I've gotten smashed by Wisconsin personally in 04 and Iowa personally in 04. Like I've seen what they look like when they're good. I know what they look like, and the offensive lines were down. Those are 2 really good offensive line programs. Offensive lines were way down. I mean, the right tackle. The right and left tackle, I was talking to an NFL scout, I was like, that right tackle's the worst I've ever seen. And he said, well, the left one was much better. And I was like, yeah, it was like batting practice. Like for Zach Harrison, it was like home run derby. It was like, he just groove it right down the middle and let me, he looked like, he made Zach Harrison look like Javon Curse. But it's interesting because, and I'm going to ask you this, man, because, we bag on the Big Ten a decent amount. But have you ever seen worse quarterback play out of this conference ever?
No. I mean, when you look if you look at the teams Ohio State has played so far, the Toledo quarterback and the Arkansas State quarterback are the best quarterback play we've seen against Ohio State. Now this week, Sean Clifford can run kind of hot like he did last week, or he can be off like he was against Michigan. So you don't know what you're going to get this week. But yeah, Big Ten quarterbacking is it's terrible. I mean, it is what it is. But for Ohio State, you've got to line up, play who you get, knock them down, get up, and beat next week's team. But you got to be peaking at the end. That's when you want to really be playing your best ball. And last week was definitely not Ohio State's best ball. There's a lot to improve on that effort.
Yeah, and it's weird because, you go back to the time machine 20 years, you look at the 02 season when we're barely beating Cincinnati and barely beating Illinois and we're squeaking by this, and now we're to the point now where 54-10 isn't good enough. But, deep down, like when you got to go see Georgia and Bama and teams that have equal talent, 'cause that's the biggest thing right now is nobody is in the same galaxy talent-wise in the Big Ten to Ohio State. So if we just line up and play, we're gonna win, But when you see the big dogs at the end, that's when you got to be tightened up and you really got to be ready to rock. Because those guys, they have guys you've actually offered scholarships to. Like Iowa's got one guy, a safety that didn't even play, that we've offered a scholarship to. The rest of those guys didn't get offered by Ohio State. So, as we move into Penn State, this is going to be a different animal. Thank God it is a noon game. That is something that, the big noon kickoff hooked Ohio State up something fierce because
hear that lion. You're still going to hear that lion roar. I guarantee you, whether it's noon, 8 in the morning, or midnight, they're going to roar that lion. So Get ready for
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
It's still
I
gonna be a
agree.
good It'll still be a good atmosphere because Penn State loves to play Ohio State, and
Uh,
and they can play Ohio State. I mean, if you look at the last 5 meetings, the highest point differential, Ohio State's won all 5. The highest is only 13 points, and in the last 5, you've had 2 1-point victories by Ohio State. So the thing with James Franklin is, I don't think he's one of the best coaches in the country. I think he's good, but I think he's really good in getting a team ready to play Ohio State. Some of these Big Ten teams, man, they're defeated before they take the field. They look at Ohio State run out there and they're like, we have no freaking chance. But Penn State, every single time they've played Ohio State under James Franklin, they think they're going to win. They really believe they're going to, and that's half the battle in sports. They will come into this game thinking that they're going to win. He will have them prepared. And then, Ohio State has to play well. And the more talented team of Ohio State, if they play well, they're going to win. But James Franklin will have that team ready to play. I'll be stunned if this game ends up like 38-9 or something, a total wipeout. Because we haven't seen that. Like I said, we've seen really competitive games, and especially when they're at Penn State, man, they battle. So they're going to try to turn this into a rock fight. Just a pure street fight brawl. And if you average 2.2 yards per rush this week, then you got to become one-dimensional and throw the ball every down, and it could be problematic.
Yeah, and this is a team that, Auburn isn't having the year that Phil Steele predicted, but they're still a very, very good team. If you go down to Auburn and win as a Northern Lamb, that is noteworthy to me because Auburn has players that Alabama has offered scholarships to. Most schools aren't like that. You don't get that out of Minnesota and Antarctica and some of these schools that we play against. But it's like they went down to Auburn and whooped them down in the South. So that got my attention.
Yeah.
And the weird thing in the history of this rivalry, it's really weird because you go back to 02. They beat us in 01, Tressel's first year when he went 7-5. 02, we only beat them 13-7. And that was the only one. Yep. Pick 6, absolutely. I was at that game getting recruited. I was with your boy Luis Irizarry, your boy Shion Cotton, so 6 of my boys. But the next year, we go out there, and we're 8 in the country. They're unranked. We beat them 21-20. I didn't travel. I was redshirted. And Ben Hartsock dropped a ball. He made like a diving grab, and the ball bounced off the grass, and they called it a catch. This is I think this might be the last year they didn't have replay. And I was like, oh my God, did we get away with an absolute? And then we kicked we threw it, I think, to Jenkins to win it. But I mean, we're losing. And Penn State probably had 4 or 5 losses when we played them in late October. And the thing about playing out there is, other than my senior year, we beat them 37-17. That is by far the biggest margin of victory out there. Because it is hard I don't buy into home and away, but man, out there it is a different beast. I'm telling you.
A game I remember is, and I'm old, so Eddie George's junior year.
Oh boy.
They were pretty good. They were a nice team, Don Cooper, they had a lot of talent on that team. A ton of NFL guys on that team. They went to Penn State, and Penn State had a great team. Kerry Collins and those guys. They beat Ohio State. It had to be like 63-14 or something. It was just a total demolition. I remember that game, and it was like, oh my gosh. It was not a game. So, not a fun place to play, as you say. But if Ohio State plays like they can play, and the good thing is the coaches are going to have their attention this week. There's a lot on to carry into. If Ohio State plays their game, Penn State plays their game, Ohio State's going to win this thing by 10 to 14 points.
Yep.
So they just got to be who they are, get better this week than what you did coming off the bye. I didn't think they weren't real sharp, in the first half coming off the bye. They settled for a ton of field goals in the red zone. They just weren't. CJ wasn't sharp in the first half at all. No. So if you get your tails kicked all week in the film session and on the practice field, come out sharp this week. There's really Penn State should not be beating Ohio State.
I totally agree. Did you ever hear the story about the Black Sox at Penn State in '94? No. So a bunch of the guys on the team, Fickle was there, and I'm pretty tight with Luke, and he literally talked about how a bunch of the seniors in '94 said, "Hey, we want to wear black socks this game." And they'd never worn black socks under Cooper. They always wore white socks. We want to wear black socks out at Penn State, because they wear the black shoes. So we're gonna wear black socks. Dude, they wore them and lost 63-14, and they never wore them again. Luke told me that story, and I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Because, I mean, the socks don't mean anything, but it's just like one of those things where, we're going to go show them where our black socks. And they played, that's probably the best Penn State team of all time in '94. I mean, that team was, they were really good. Kyle Brady, Kajada Carter, Kerry Collins, who played 15 years in the league. But Fickle.
Lethal.
Oh, God. Yeah, and Fickle, he told me that story one time. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, you did that. It's like, we never wore black socks again after that one, after you lose by 60 points at home. But, it's weird because we have waxed Penn State in the horseshoe a few times. Like in 13, that was O'Brien's last year, 63-14, waxed them. We've got them good there. But out there, man, it's like 20, when they beat us in 16, it was 24-21. And then in 18, it was 27-26. 20, it was 38-21. So it's like, it's tight. Even when we're ranked like number 3 and they're 20 or, I don't know.
Yeah. They fight you, man. They fight you for every inch. And James Franklin will lose games, and it's like, they're just not, they look like they're not even ready to play. They look like they're not into it. But when they play Ohio State, they are into it. And they'll fight you every inch. I don't know. If James Franklin could get his guys ready to play every week the way he does against Ohio State, they played Michigan a couple of weeks ago, and they got annihilated, and that game should have been worse. They had a couple scores in the first half, a couple gifts in the first half to keep it close, and then the second half, they just got run. So I don't think it'll happen this week. I think he'll have them ready to play. They'll fight you tooth and nail, and I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be, Ohio State like a 38-20 or something, maybe 38-21. I think Ohio State will win if they just don't turn the ball over. Get it done on third down, run the ball, things that Ohio State has to do if you're going to win a national title.
Yeah, you got to take care of the ball. And I mean, Iowa. The most interesting thing about that game is Iowa had the balls to run cover 0 against Emeka and Marvin Harrison. So there's man up, no free safety. They're bringing the house to stop the run. And I think that Phil Parker, who is a fantastic defensive coordinator, identified that CJ isn't allowed to change plays. They do the look back stuff sometimes, but he can't go up there and just check out of a play that's a loser play. And that was something that was, and again, Ryan Day's forgotten more about offense than I'll ever know, but I played in the old covered wagon days of Jim Tressel where it didn't matter what the look was. There could be 35 guys in the box, and we're still running power. It doesn't matter. And it's like, you better pray that Beanie Wells can run over 5 guys to get us a yard. But, we had these loser looks, and I'm out there, and I'm like, I mean, literally, the NFL guy I talked to, is like, you're telling me that you're not going to take a shot every single time with Marvin Harrison versus the little white corner they had on him? And I was like, that's what I was thinking. I was throwing it to Marvin. He had 35 targets when I was calling that game because that guy can't check Marvin. But when you get stuck in a running play and you get receivers that's out there being decoys, like, kind of stuck. But I mean, if and again, I know Ryan's got a system and whatever, but man, if I saw him singled up against anybody, I'm changing the play and saying, Marvin, go. You have the whole field to win. I
didn't think Ryan Day had his best game as a play caller, and I think he's a tremendous play caller.
Yeah.
In the first half, Ohio State had 6 possessions, run up the middle for 1 yard, run up the middle for 4 yards, run up the middle for 0, an incomplete pass, just a short dump off for 4 yards, and then run up the middle for 3. He just never got, and when you're getting beat on first down consistently, that changes things, man. That changes things. And Iowa was winning defensively. They were winning every first down in the first half, and that would get Ohio State off their schedule.
Yeah. And like, if it's me, if it's 3rd and 2 and they want to put 9 guys in the box and you got Marvin or Emeka singled up, I'm throwing it. And I don't care. You can call me soft. You can call me a millennial. You can call me everything under the sun. But if I have Marvin Harrison Jr. against anybody outside of maybe Darrelle Revis in 2008, I'm throwing it to him, especially in college, because that guy, if you get it within 5 feet of him, he's catching it, and you're gonna get your yardage. And if you throw it to a Mecca might take it to the house. So I mean, that was stunning because Iowa has run the same defense for 30 years. Because I broke them down as a player, and even more so when I was a grad assistant. I literally typed in this. They have the exact same front on every play, and they're on the same coverage on every play. You could literally copy and paste the entire game when you break a. It's the only team in the country that does that. And then they get out there against us, and they throw that all out the window. What they've done for 30 years, and they run cover 0, which that takes incredible balls against Emeka and Marvin. That's like suicide. But they did it, and it worked until it didn't. I mean, eventually those guys realize, hey, our receivers out there are one up with a bunch of guys that aren't going to play in the NFL, and they're going to be top 10 picks. Maybe we should throw it to them, but it's
See, Ryan in the second half, I think he found his mojo offensively.
oh
CJ made some throws in the second half that were some of the greatest throws you're ever going to see. Windows that aren't. I mean, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. CJ's. When he's good, man, it is so beautiful to watch. It's poetry, man, with the throws he makes. When you look at Marvin Harrison, and I don't think he's anywhere near what he's going to be. I think he's still wrong. I think he's wrong. But I wrote the other day that I think at the end of the day, he's going to be the best receiver of anybody on the JSN and Emeka, and including Garrett Wilson and Olave, who are both having great rookie seasons in the NFL. I think Marvin Harrison is going to be the best one of the group. I think he's a faster, more athletic Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas is pretty good in his prime. Michael Thomas is pretty good.
Yeah,
I think Marvin's a little faster, a little quicker, a little more athletic. And those jaws of life that he's got for hands, his catch radius is, he's open when he's coming. Just throw it to him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the best. I don't know what you think. I think he's going to be the best one of that elite group. And they're elite.
Yeah, and I think that he reminds me of Devontae Adams, who I watch him every week just because the way he gets open, his radius, how you can throw it to him when he's covered and he gets uncovered. He's just an absolute obsessive compulsive guy when it comes to route running and being a technician, and he's the only guy on the team that won't even entertain an NIL deal because he's that much into football. He won't even drive a free car. Hey, do you want a free car, Marvin? Nope, I'm all football. No free cars for me. And it's like, when I was 18, if someone offered me a free car, I'd be like, man, what do you need me to do? You need me to go clean off your driveway all winter? Or do you need me to mow the lawn? Like, I'll do anything for a free car. Marvin's like, nope. Now, granted, his dad's an NFL Hall of Famer. It's a little bit different financial story, but, but he's all ball. And again, like, when you get these kids that are obsessed with it, like he is, I mean, you're right. Like, there's no ceiling on a kid like that. And that's why, again, like, I'm going to enjoy that kid for the next 2 years because we keep turning him out like this, but the only thing that could ever hold him back in the NFL is if he goes to a situation where he doesn't have a quarterback. Like, I mean, Garrett Wilson is just a super talented kid, and he has Zach Wilson, who throws for 80 yards a game as his quarterback. Now, Zach Wilson might get better, but when he had Joe Flacco throwing him the ball, Garrett Wilson had like 180 yards against the Browns when he had a real quarterback. So that's what, these guys, Olave's got.
Oh, when his game is throwing, he's making plays. Well, he made plays the other day with who was the quarterback?
With Dalton, the Red Rocket.
Andy Dalton, that's right. Throwing 2 interceptions for touchdowns, but I still maintain if I had to buy stock in one of those guys, and I'd like to have stock in any of them, JSN, Emeka, who's amazing, but I would take Marvin Harrison. I think at the end of all their careers, Marvin Harrison's going to have the best pro career.
Yeah,
as long as he doesn't get drafted by one of those slug teams.
he doesn't go to a because that's what I always tell people. I was like, man, the infrastructure. Because I was talking about Justin Fields today. It's like, Justin, like, great quarterback, but he has been hit and sacked more than any quarterback in the NFL, and he's dropped back the fewest times. He's thrown the fewest passes, and he's been hit the most. So it's like, how do you survive? It's like, I just hope that he can get traded or cut and go to a team that can protect him. And he has the worst receivers, and worst receivers is the worst line. So because I thought the world of Justin. If Justin Fields would have gone to the 49ers, he'd be a Pro Bowler right now. If he had Trent Williams and McCaffrey and Ayuk and Kittle and
If he slips a little bit more, I mean, how would we look at these two guys, Mac Jones and Justin Fields, had they been drafting for each other's team? Mac on the Bears, Justin on the Patriots. Look what the Patriots are doing with Bailey Zappi.
Oh my God,
You know what I mean?
I know.
What did they do with Mac Jones? What would they have done with Justin Fields? How would we look at Mac Jones and Justin Fields if they were reversed? I think we'd look at them a lot differently.
Oh, absolutely. It's like look at two these guys that have like Tyreek Hill, they have real weapons. Joe Burrow's got Jamar Chase. Like I mean, they invested heavily in the line and they looked really good on Sunday. They started off really bad at the beginning of the season, but they're coming now, and it's like when you have the weapons, invest in the O-line, it makes your life great. But if you go to a place like Chicago where they have a bunch of practice squatters and a bad center and the receivers,
you can still tailor your stuff to what your quarterback does best. And I think that's your job. Not to make him do what you want him to do. If Justin Fields was with the Ravens right now,
oh, it's perfect.
He would be putting up numbers. To me, Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. As crazy as that sounds, Justin on the Ravens, Lamar Jackson on the Bears, I think you'd look at them totally differently than we look at them today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because the Ravens always play defense generally, and they've got a first round left tackle in Ronnie Staley, which is important. They've got a good cast. They've had about 800 different running backs in the last 3 years, but they run some read option. They take advantage of his legs. They don't let him just stand in the pocket and get killed. And that's what Justin's problem is. Like even with Matt Nagy last year, is they would be an empty. So 5 wide receivers with no guys that can block, and you would get the quarterback just tattooed. Even if he gets the ball off, he's getting hit.
Three or 4 options. Scan the field and read 3 options, 4 options, and it ain't gonna happen. He needs to be in a Lamar Jackson offense, and he would be amazing. I totally believe.
I mean, you've talked at length, and obviously it's not the same category as JT, but like JT Barrett, as his career went along, became worse and worse of a passer because he took 700 hits. Yeah, I mean, you get hit that many times, man. It is like it's hard to throw a football, and it doesn't matter if you're running forward or if you're in the pocket, get hit by a defensive end. It's still those things add up, and you see these guys that get punch drunk, and that's why these teams that are bad. They end up drafting a new quarterback every 3 years because the last one got killed. So
yeah, no, I believe in Justin. I think Justin, he's got to get out of there somehow, or something has to change there. But I think Justin is in the top. How many teams are there in the NFL? There's
32.
I think he's in the top 15. But he's in a situation. Put Tom Brady on the Bears right now. Put Tom Brady next week. Let him the Bears, and he looks bad now because his offensive line stinks. Aaron Rodgers, 2 weapons, line's a little weaker. Aaron Rodgers looks terrible right now. It's not his fault. He didn't forget how to play football.
He's got
the situation you're in, man. I mean, the situation you're in determines so much. Let Justin go to the Bengals. Let him throw to T. Higgins and Boyd.
Oh God! He handed it to Joe Mixon.
Really good. Mixon, Hayden Hurst is like a option or whatever, and that guy's good. I mean, I don't know. I still believe in Justin though, and I just hope for something different for him.
Yeah, and I don't want to do any sort of witchcraft on our boy, but a place that would be great for Justin, Seattle. Because they run the ball. They got DK Metcalf. They got Lockett. And look at Geno. Geno's killing it right now. Our boy Geno. Shout out South Florida Express. Geno's playing great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places Justin would do just as good as the guy you think that's really good. He's just as good as that guy. He has no chance on the team he's on. Put Matt Stafford on the Bears right now. Good luck. Wish you all the best. He gets out of a bad situation, he wins the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
That's the end of that rant, but I still believe in Justin Fields, the guy I believe in, and I'm going to go down with that ship.
I know, I do too, man. I just hope that he could go before he gets hit too many times. I hope he can go somewhere that would, yeah, because again, it's all about infrastructure. You know, if he's on Tennessee and he can hand it to Derrick Henry and good O line and he's got a couple of good receivers, like life is amazing. But you know,
Player
it's
than Ryan Tannehill. Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill.
oh
It's not,
easily,
it's not even close. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think we've ranted long enough on Justin.
I know.
No,
Well, I'm gonna.
he sends this to him, so he knows how much we like him.
Oh, I know, man. I'd be like, look, we're rooting for you. I mean, I got drafted by the Bears. It's like I've seen what they do to quarterbacks there with the media, man. I was there with Orton and Cutler, and it was ugly. Um, so final thought. I know you haven't really done a ton of your Penn State breakdown stuff, but just initially feeling pretty decent. I mean, obviously you feel like we're gonna win. Close game, physical. Is there a better matchup than Marvin versus Joey Porter Jr. for the day?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
A real good one. Yeah, I think Penn State will. I think they're going to play a lot of man. I think they're going to try to stop the run, force CJ to beat him over the top. They really usually have a really good blitz package. I really like Manny Diaz. I think he's a little bit more aggressive than what they've had in the past. So that can be, feast or famine defensively when you're doing that. But that'll be some good stuff this week. Yeah, I really looking forward to that matchup. Joey Porter's really good, man.
Oh, I played with his old man in Miami when he led the NFL in sacks. I had to block her. I had to try to block Joey Senior. He was nuts. Yeah, but the thing about this, and I'm going to wrap it with this, but we last lost these guys in 2016, and in 2016 there were a lot of winds swirling about James Franklin getting fired, and is he the guy? And so he's like due for one of those where it's like, oh, he should be fired. Like this is like one of those 10-year extension games where he'll, if by some miracle they beat us, it's a 10-year contract extension and $150 billion, and he's still the same guy. But that's what these kind of games are. But it's not going to happen.
Let me leave you with one stat. I was looking. I'm a stat nut. This is a good one. You're going to like it. This year, after 7 games, C.J. Stroud has thrown for 2,023 yards. Okay?
Yeah.
2023, C.J. Stroud. After 7 games, Stetson Bennett has thrown for 2,033 yards. Can you believe that?
I wouldn't have believed that in a billion years.
I think Georgia as a team averages more passing yards than Ohio State does.
Really?
I was looking at stats today. Yeah, crazy stat, right?
I don't know if it's Stetson looks like an accountant or what it is, but like he gets no Heisman love because he's like a little tiny walk-on transferred in.
But I have a ticket on him at 19-1 to win the Heisman. Kind of kind of a career lifetime achievement award. If they go undefeated and Ohio State gets beat, and then Hendon Hooker gets beat, and they're the last team standing, Georgia, and when they vote for the Heisman, I'm telling you, Stetson Bennett's going to get consideration.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's going to have stats to go with it.
Oh yeah.
So look out for the little Stetson.
Hey, I'm telling you, you'll be tuned into that Tennessee-Georgia game real tight because if they get past Georgia, man, then they get to that SEC championship. If they beat Bama, then you're going to be standing at the window with that ticket.
Thank you, Stetson.
Oh, thank you, Stetson. All right, brother. I appreciate you back. As always, want to wrap this thing up. That is Bill the Bank Greene. That is why he's the best. Let me get our little exit screen going. That's the bank. That's why he's the best. The guy's got the stats. He knows his stuff. He's on BuckeyeScoop.com. He crushes it every day, brings it. Big recruiting stuff coming this week as well. This is a huge game for the Buckeyes. This is the first big test we're going to have. Really excited about it. I think you guys should be excited. Big noon kickoff. We're going to do a live watch party on BuckeyeScoop.com, so make sure you tune into that. The game total will be cranked up. It is going to be big time, so I'm just super excited about it. If you guys have not liked this video, please leave us a like. We appreciate it. Those really add up. They really help the video catapult in the stratosphere of views. So thank you guys as always. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. You guys have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.